I'm your host, Ken Lewis. Welcome to Mix Bus Night on Mixing Night. My guests include Koen Heldens, Richard Furch, and Ryan Schwabe. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Mix Bus will be revealed tonight, so fire up your studio, tell a friend, and settle in for Mixing Night.
Let's go! Woo!
Oh, hey, I was holding the pedal down. Welcome to Mixing Night. I'm your host, Ken Lewis, here with the lethally lovable Mazzy holding down treats and security. I just won my second Grammy statue, and I definitely have the weirdest discography you have ever seen in your entire music industry career. You can check it out at kenlewis.com, and if you need a mix engineer, give me a call. Tonight's show covers all things Mixbus related. Just check the agenda and the scroll. You will see you do not want to miss a single minute of tonight. My guests tonight include Koen Heldens, Richard Furch, and Ryan Schwabe. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Mixbus will be revealed. So fire up your studio, tell a friend, and settle in for Mixing Night. We have 5 giveaways tonight. Yes, 5 things, but you got to be live. If you're catching the restream, I'm sorry, snooze lose. Enter in the link in the description of the video you are watching right now. You can enter for all the plugin giveaways all at the same time. So go there, enter, and then come straight back. Don't leave us for very long. We are giving away tonight 3 new UFX bundles from UJam. Thank you, UJam. That's really cool. And an EQ from Better Maker. Shout out to Merrick from Better Maker. And a 1-year subscription to Session Studio tonight as well, which is what Coburn and I have been using when we were writing and producing on her project, which I am super excited to be currently producing along with George Lever and James Sanger. Absolute dream team on the Coburn record. And wait till you hear these songs. Brr. I'm going to play you a little bit of a song called Super Ugly tonight and show you the mix bus on it. Amazing songs on her record. I'll also be writing this year and recording a lot with Anushka Sen. That woman is a lioness. I just saw the photographic proof, but I can't wait to have you guys hear her. She's amazing. And do you guys know what sync music is? SYNC. Sync music is anytime music is paired with picture, TV, gaming, commercials, that kind of stuff. That's called a sync. So next month I have a very big sync announcement. So for anybody living in sync world or wanting to be, you might want to pay attention next month. And speaking of the April show, April is hardware night on Mixing Night. Finally, we get to do a hardware night. And we get to do a hardware night because I am getting the Wolf Pro patch, which is like a digital patch bay, Dante routing. I am going to be able to plug in not only all of my all of my vintage outboard gear, as well as I just got this Eventide H90 like super pedal. That's going into the Pro patch. I'm going to be able to bring in the returns from my keyboards and all of that stuff. It's like routing all of the audio from my whole studio around in one box. It's amazing. So we're kind of building the whole show around that. It's going to be analog fabulous. Tune in for April if you love analog gear, which I certainly do. Let's see, and Better Maker is sending us a prototype for that show as well to show you guys. The way Merrick described it to me, he just kept going. I was like, what? This? Yeah, I need like 2 of these, like stat. So I'm hoping I get to show you guys that as well. Also in the show description is what's LUFs got to do with it. So me and the guys put together this whole kind of, call it like a chart or like a reference manual. It's going to be your Bible for where your mix targets should be and what they should sound like against. It's going to blow your mind when we show you later. That's pretty late in the show, but you can download it out of the description anytime. And the Sprint mix tonight is Obscene Stealers featuring Danielle Stars and I Know Fash. One of my favorite songs called Start the Show. I'm also using Start the Show later on. I did a version of this where I removed the entire mix bus, and then I'm retreating the mix bus. There's going to be a lot of that tonight. There is so much mix bus stuff for you guys tonight. I can't even tell you. It's crazy. So you've probably all heard the spiel about Sprint mixing, but this girl Mazzy has no idea that she is about to become the happiest girl in the world because her favorite bone. We've now gotten in the habit of the only way we can keep her in the room is Maz. Hey. Oh, yeah, babe. Uh-huh. Is to give her, like, that super... Yeah, she's about to go ham. All right, Sprint mixing is Obscene Stealers. Start the show, 10 minutes on the clock, 36 stems, which means I have, like, probably 15 or 16 seconds per stem to make every decision I'm going to make about it. This really helps me train my gut and my instincts. When I'm doing full client mixes, they're not 10 minutes. They might be 10 hours, but my focus is much greater. My ability to make decisions fast and trust my gut is imperative. So here we go. Welcome to Mixing Night. I'm Ken Lewis. That's Mazzy. And stay tuned. It's going to be a great show. Sprint mixing, boom. Come on, and now.
Now it's time to start the show. On the stage is all I know. Like I'm in love ain't home. It's right here, I'm right here.
Man, this is a lot to sort out. Woo!
On the stage lights go out, the stage is mine. I take a breath and leave the world behind. From way down low, the beat starts playing. It's what we know, it's why we came, and it's time to start the show. Feel the music letting go, like a habit can't be broke. I'm right here, it's right here, and it's time to start the show.
Whoo! That is Start the Show, and that is a hell of a way to kick it off. This is Start the Show Obscene Stealers, which is my group, me and Michael Moss, the movie trailer boss, featuring Danielle Stars and I Know Fash. I Know Fash's verse was not in there, so this must be the short sprint mix version for the show, but the release version has I Know Fash. And I have a new group together, me, Michael Moss, this is Torch, and I Know Fash, and we are called Radiolarians, and we are coming for your syncs. Oh yes. If you missed the show last month, my sprint mix was a song called Evacuation, and that is Radiolarians, Evacuation. Okay, so the first thing, okay. First thing I want to explain, like, what is a mix bus and why do we need it? So I look at what is a mix bus and why do we need it as, okay, your school drives around and picks up all the kids and brings them to one place. The one place is your bounce down. The bus taking everybody, it's picking up your drummer Jimmy and your singer Veronica and your keyboard player Johnny, and it's taking all of them to one single destination, to school, and they're going to get a whole bunch of training at school, and that's tweaking the mix bus. So it's just a great way to combine everything into one place that you can then manipulate it into one place and hear it out of two speakers or two headphones. All of the tools I'm going to be using tonight are, let's see, we've got saturators, we've got saturators, we have exciters, we have tape sims. Then we're going to go over compressors, then equalizers, then clippers, then final pusher volumes. I'm going to show you some fade outs techniques. Let's see, where's my chat roll? I should have the chat roll in front of me, but it's not here. If somebody can come up and get the... Yeah. It's not coming up. I get, well, you guys can see it. Anyway, I'm going to show you my mix bus. And the first thing that I want to show you about my mix bus is, we always talk about gain staging and headroom, and we don't really know what that is when we're really young. It took me forever to wrap my head around it. So basically, this is what I'm going to show you. Mazzy, how you liking that? Oh, she could go to town on that. This is my final mix bus print with no plugins. Look at how low level that is compared to, this is the exact same mix, clip gained up 17 dB until my peaks started hitting like, 0.2s and 0.4s and whatnot. So this is the exact same mix as this. I left myself 17 dB of headroom before peaks while I was mixing. And the way that I do that is when I start a mix, I pull all faders down. I make sure all automation is turned off. This is absolutely critical. Automation off so you don't have faders snapping up and blowing your speakers. All automation off, all faders down, volume on 11. See, I got the dad mom right here. Take your main monitor volume. Your monitor volume and your mix bus volume are two completely different things. Your monitor volume only controls how loud and soft your speakers get. Your mix bus has to do with your whole session and how loud it gets printed and sent out to the world. So when you turn up your monitor level all the way up, making your speakers very, very loud, when you start your mix, you start it at a much lower level. So I'm going to fuck with these for a second just to make a point. But if I'm starting my mix with my volume on 11, most of my faders are going to be pushed up to in the -20s and -30 range on the fader throw. And it's still going to hit me in the chest just like that kick drum I want it to hit me, just like that 808 is thumping the room. It's just I'm getting the same volume out of the volume turned all the way up with the fader turned way down as I am with the volume at say half and the fader turned up to like -5. And so the difference is I have now given myself like an extra 15 dB of headroom just because I started with my volume all the way up. And I keep it super loud for like the first 15, 20, 30 minutes, while this is where sprint mixing comes in super valuable. I try and get everything into the mix as fast as I can, and then I kind of back up and I slow way down and I start making, much slower decisions and choices. And that initial, everything kind of gets into the mix very quickly. And I forget why I was telling you that. We just had Nolan walking. Yeah, I can't see you guys on the chat roll yet. I miss you guys. I want to give you all shout outs. So yeah, headroom. So as my mix balances start coming together, my volume starts going down to normal listener level. So I want to get just that initial excitement and impact, and I want to get my basic roughed out levels for my mix. We're still in rough mix land right now, on our way to final, but this is the start. And then as the volume goes down a little bit and my balances come together, then I will start, making slower decisions and adding things in here and there. I don't personally touch the mix bus until I feel like I have built the foundation of my house. So everything is in the mix. Everything is sonically balanced against everything else, and everything sounds on its way to being polished. I get a lot of the polish out of the mix bus. So, man, Mazzy Bear. I get a lot of the polish out of the mix bus, but I can tell by the basic balances that I have what I want. And I can also tell, this is just personally about me, I tend to notice that I mix a little bit dark, and then I brighten it up when I treat my mix bus. And I'm not sure why that is. I think everybody likes to mix a little bit bass heavy. So I think your initial instincts are just like, let me feel that bass, and then you realize you probably have just a little bit too much and you have to rework it a little bit. So that's the way that I maintain mix bus headroom. The other type of headroom that you have to worry about is from one mix bus plugin to the next. So here's what I mean by that. This is a song that's going to sound very familiar to you. Why do I not hear that? Give me a second. Is something soloed? I am thoroughly confused. don't know what that is. I'm going to go to I'm going to go to something else. I don't know why that's not playing, but I can't hear my mix bus at all. Nolan, stay close. Could you guys hear that? Because I...
No, it was muted in Pro Tools, maybe?
Yeah, possibly. Maybe the mix bus was. I don't know. We'll have to see. Let me answer some questions. Matt Gregory asks, "Hey Ken, how long did it take you to get good at mixing?" Man, I'm still working on that, Gregory or Matt. It's it's a lifelong adventure, and styles of mixing change. The types of things that get thrown at me change. Like I produced and mixed a big blues album last year. I'm working on a metal album right now. Hip hop and pop are kind of my wheelhouse. So I'm kind of forced to be pushed in different directions and always adapt. But I would say it took maybe 8 years to be super confident. But I think I could throw down great mixes pretty early on, just not super consistently. The mark of a great pro is every time you step up to the plate, you do a great job. Astro Joey asks, "Hey Ken, I use Logic Pro Monterey. Should I upgrade to Sequoia? I heard not to upgrade, just keep the old system." I actually don't know. Let me see what system I'm on. I'm on Sonoma, so if that tells you anything, I'm sure the LOLCOMP and ALLCOMP and GreenHAAS are compatible with all of the operating systems right now. Oh, we got the chat roll back. Oh, look at, man, you guys are lit up right now. Gordito, Zaza one, Walex, Stefingas, Jamie Heatley, Fernando, Jared Masters, Ben Ellery, Reason PTV, is that it? Steven Ramos, the new Track Cats. Man, you guys are on fire tonight. Shiv and Jason, good to see you guys. Man, we do need to get back to the beat contests. So for those newer to the show, we used to do beat contests every month, and they were the coolest things ever. I really need to get back to those. Let me see what's up with my mix bus. It's back. Okay, I'm going to show you guys my mix bus in a bit, but I'm just going to go straight to compressors. So what I did was I set up a whole bunch of different styles of compression. There's a Varimu, this stay level, which I think this is an opto. Who knows on the chat roll, who knows what the compression style of the stay level is? Post it up on the chat roll and let everybody know. I'm guessing opto. And then we have the SSL 2-bus compressor, famous, of course, especially for hip hop. The Michael H. Brower Green Machine. This is Kazrog. This is the only compressor like this on planet Earth. Michael Brower owns it, and Kazrog scoped it. Hit strip from DJ Swivel, monster. ALLCOMP, y'all know fucking ALLCOMP does everything. 33609 from UAD, which is a bridge diode. And then the God particle. Now let's just compare them. What I did was I set everything to roughly the same RMS, and I'm just going to go through them and see what sounds like what.
Time to start the show.
Nothing is crazy. I left it all on the stage. They counted me out the game. What an awful mistake. Nah, I'm doing numbers because they love it. I beg your pardon.
I think one of the coolest things is going to be to show you the difference between the Varimu and the SSL compressor. The SSL is really grabby and fast. Even a 30 millisecond attack is like super fast for this thing. Auto release is going to let it go way faster than the Varimu. The Varimu I have set up kind of like a radio limiter, like a radio station limiter. Super slow attack. I think it's a 70 millisecond attack where I have it. Slow attack. And I have here, slow attack, and I have the slowest release, which I believe is like 7 seconds. which sounds insane that it would actually work, but for some reason for a mix bus it does. The other thing that I can tell that I'm doing with the Manley is I am saturating the transformers on the way in. I do the exact same thing with my analog Manley Verymu. Maz, calm down, baby girl. Come here. Oh my goodness, she is going to Bone Town. I try and hit the Manley Verymu really hard so that I'm kind of saturating the transformers and getting a little transformer compression like that, which gives me a certain compression shape that I really, really like. And then the slowest release and listen. So I'm just going to A/B between this one, the Manley Verymu in the lower left, and the SSL in the top right. Start with the Manley.
Nothing is crazy. I left it all on the stage. They counted me out the game. What an awful mistake. Nah, I'm doing numbers they can't
SSL.
because they love it. I beg your pardon. I guess.
Listen to the way the kicks hit. So it's kind of, this is subtle shit, but basically the SSL is grabbing the kicks a lot more. It's making the kicks tighter and punchier, and it's taking away a little bit of the low end, but making it drive and be a little bit more aggressive. Whereas the Manley is just kind of smoothing everything out and making it big and fat and loud without really pumping. SSL.
They counted me out the game. What an awful mistake. Nah, I'm doing numbers they can't because they love it. I guess I changed the way they
Verymu.
The fans are calling my name. They waited.
So if you can hear that, and you can see how slowly the Verymu recovers. Watch how fast the SSL recovers compared to the Verymu. Completely different compression styles.
Nothing is crazy. I left it.
So you got to ask yourself, what do you want to accomplish with the mix bus? I tend to find that an SSL bus style compressor, I reach for it on like boom bap hip hop a lot, whereas I don't think, the Manley tends to grab a little bit too much on like big bass or EDM. Boom bap hip hop, I wouldn't really grab the Manley, whereas I think the SSL is perfect for that kind of more like street hip hop, big kicks and things like that. But big 808 music, I don't know that I would choose the SSL because it even in auto, it's so fast on the release that it can kind of pump your mix if there's not a lot of content going the whole time. Let's see. Has anybody got any questions about compression? Man, you guys are lighting it up. 1957 MBI. What's up, MBI? Must be late in Scotland right now. This is Torch, the Radiolarians. Gazuder? G. Brown? DeVell? Now we break it down. Shiv and Jason, Fernando, Analog Life, that's the life I lead. Stephen Ramos asks, hey Ken, I know you get your mixes master ready, but if you're sending stuff out, do you pick who's going to master your record, or do you leave it to the artist? If the artist consults me, I will give them a short list of who I think is going to be the best person to master their record. And if they have somebody that they're comfortable with, then I'm always super happy to make sure that the artist is the most comfortable with their project that they can be. Some of my personal favorite mastering people, I love Andy Krem up in Toronto at Silver Birch Mastering. Howie Weinberg in LA is a fucking monster. Chris Athens is amazing. I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of them, but mastering is a dope little profession. I do a bunch of mastering too. I master all of Scrizzly Adams stuff nowadays, and I just mastered a record last week for somebody else. So, I do that too. I got octopus tentacles and everything. Reason TV asks, hey Ken, what SPL is your monitors calibrated to? I have no idea, but my listening levels, which I think are more important to talk about, I spare my hearing. And which is one of the reasons you don't see gigantic main speakers in front of me. I don't want the ability to ruin my hearing in a short period of time. My ears, I'm 54 years old, no tinnitus, And I plan on going a very long time without my ears ringing. And I am in super ear preservation mode. I listen loud for short periods of time. Those Dutch and Dutches on each side, those have dual 8s in the back of each side. Those will do 105 dB continuous forever. That's enough to damage you quickly. So I tend to keep monitoring around. I think my typical monitoring level for mixing is about 80 to 85. 75 when I'm making low level adjustments, and I usually start around like 90 to 95 for like 20 minutes just to feel it and kind of get in the groove. Let's see. Sam Heights. Hey, Sam, I was just thinking about you today. Janelle Nabong. Hey, Janelle. Kanye East. That's a much better Kanye. I miss the old Kanye West. I do not know who this Ye dude is. He is completely foreign to me. Nothing about him is reminiscent of the guy that I knew. It's really fucking sad as fuck. Danny Damali asks, hey Ken, are you typically printing through the mix bus when prepping through Atmos? Yes. When you prep for Atmos, we have found best results when... Oh my God, she is going to Bone Town. We have found best Atmos prep results when you print all stems through the mix bus, leaving all of your mix bus plugins on, but turning off all of the noise generating shit, like the waves noise stuff. I have just found, I understand that, you know, your compression levels might change certain stems in certain ways, and you got to be careful that you A/B against your stereo master when you're mixing your Atmos to make sure that the entire song translates, not just one section of it. But you will, in my opinion, find a much easier and much more translatable finish line to your stereo mix if you leave all plugins on and you print all your stems through the mix bus. Let's see, back to, what other, I'm just going to let you guys hear a little bit more of this. The 33609 is a really grabby compressor as well. This is the 33609.
Nothing is crazy. I left it all on the stage. They counted me out the game. What an awful mistake. Nah, I'm doing numbers they came because they love it. I beg your pardon. I guess I changed the way they saw us made. The fans are calling
God Particle.
They waited out in the rain just to hear what I said. 15 minutes is all
33609.
I left it all on the stage. They counted me out the game. What an awful mistake. Nah, I'm doing numbers they came because they love it. I beg your pardon.
So I typed myself up a little attack release. The Varimu is a 70 millisecond attack. The SSL is 30. God Particle has its own mystery shit. The 33609 is really fast. It's 3 to 6 milliseconds on the slow setting, and I have it on the slow setting. So whereas the Varimu is waiting 70 milliseconds, so that whole kick transient is kind of going straight past the Varimu, and then the Varimu is like, oh, maybe I should clamp down on things. Whereas the 33609 is like, hey, buddy, soon as I see that transient, I'm pulling back on it. You know, you might get a peck of it through, but not much. The mixed-wave stay level has a really slow attack, 75 milliseconds, really slow release, 7.5 seconds. And the way I have hit strip, I gotta hand it to hit strip. I may show you some of this more later. But if I can get back to the Tony S session and get my thing, let me try and do that right now. I basically took everything off my mix bus and mastered it, and redid my mix bus from scratch a few different ways, which is what I'm trying to show you guys here. And hit strip is a monster. Wow, I was super impressed with how. Okay, now I can hear it. I was super impressed with how easy it was to dial in, let me see. Nope, I don't have it here. I'm going to show it to you on the other session. Here is no mix bus. I'm going to add things in one at a time so you can hear what I'm doing with each thing, starting with the saturator.
Before, but I played along with myself.
Now you see, I'm targeting on the VariMu. I personally want to see between 6 and 10 dB of general reduction on that meter almost all the time. The release is so slow that it's going to stay kind of almost dead. It doesn't even look like it's moving. But the Fairchild aspect of the mod of it doesn't kick in until you're 6 dB down. So you get a little bit more Fairchild-y with more than 6 dB of compression. The way I use the VariMu is it has this magic ability to take, you know, like if you get your verse mixed perfectly and your verse sounds great, and then your chorus is mixed perfectly and your chorus feels great, but when you transition between your verse and your chorus, the balance and the transition is just completely wrong and it just doesn't flow one into the other. Well, try the VariMu on these settings. Slowest attack, slowest release, smash the input so that you get a little bit of transformer saturation, and then just back off the output to wherever you need it. And it has this, whatever that glue factor is, this is the glue. Holy cow. It really will take those verses into the choruses, back out of the chorus into the quieter section that follows, and just make the whole thing feel like it just makes sense. So when I think about glue, I think about something like the VariMu or the Stay Level's ability to take one section and make it make sense into another section and then back out of that into the next section. Not just the glue aspect of do the drums work with the bass and, you know, those types of things. I don't really think on mix bus compression so much like that. I think about what is this doing to the sections and the overall feel of the song. Okay, so I need to move on. Let's go to Koen Heldens, and then I'm going to come back and show you more mix bus stuff on mine. We'll be right back. And after Koen, so before we go to Koen, we are about to give away the Better Maker EQ. If you have not entered the giveaway for tonight, it is in the description of the video you are watching right now. Go get it, go enter, and we are going to pick the winner of the Better Maker right after the Koen segment. And we've still got 4 more to give away after that. So thank you, Koen Heldens. Let's go to him.
Hi, my name is Koen Heldens. I'm a multi-diamond mixing engineer, and today I have the pleasure to show you guys my mix bus. Let's jump in. So my mix bus, I use a variety of plugins. The first plugin I'm using is the Waves VU meter. Basically, I gain stage my mix into the mix bus. So I always make sure that at the beginning of the mix, it's hitting about -1 on the VU meter. My peak is actually set to RMS. So over here on the metering from Pro Tools, it's the K14 meter, and I hit it at about -6 decibels, although it says 0 here, don't mind that. And I go from the VU meter into Black Rooster Audio VPR E73, which is basically a 1073 preamp. I like it because it adds a little bit more weight to my mix. I follow that up by a very classic plugin, the Renaissance compressor from Waves. It's light ratio, fairly fast attack, very fast release, and basically what it's doing, it's knocking off about 1 to 2 decibels of the overall mix. That's going into the SPL machine head, which adds a bit more drive, like more tape magnetic pressure, as I should say, to the actual overall mix. Slight drive, fast tape speed. I just high end a little bit because the plugin adds some ultra highs that somehow I'm not a big fan of, so I tame those a little bit. The machine head is followed up by another classic plugin, which is the ML4000 from MacDSP. Basically, I don't add any gain on the bands. I'm compressing and expanding all the bands, except for the low end. The low end I only expand. So the compression and expansion kind of functions like OTT does, but I really like the sound of this plugin. And everything is very light. So even here, it probably expands or compresses about 1 to 2 decibels maximum. And I followed that one up with Isotope Ozone. I utilize the EQ every once in a while. Just, finding the root node of the song and add a little boost there for some added low end. Slide imaging. The ultra low, so 60 hertz and below, I keep mono. The low mid band, I always keep the way it is. And then the high mids, I make a little bit wider. And then the high end, I make a little bit more wider, if that makes sense. That's followed by the vintage limiter, which is a great emulation of the Fairchild 670. Put it into modern mode because it gives you more of the modern clipping aesthetics. What you see here at -3, it technically does not do anything. I just lowered it because it maximizes at the same time. So I gained some more volume out of it and having that go over into the maximizer. IRC3 balanced, which is pretty much the Isotope 5, like the Ozone 5 preset, so to say. Take a little tiny bit of the output level. It will have the occasional intersample peaks that go over 0, but it's not a major issue. A little bit of soft clipping, low, 10%. And I'm coming in there at +6, so it usually is limiting about, I say, another like 2-3 dB-ish max. And that's my mix bus.
Hello! We are apparently back. Thank you, Koen. It's always nice to have a multi-diamond mixer tapping in to show everybody the sauce. Man, we got some heat tonight between Koen and Richard Furch coming up in a little bit and Ryan Schwabe in a bit. Thank you all the guys for tapping in. Marcus Manderson's coming up late in the show. Let's see. I wanted to get back to my mix bus. So, I saw somebody, Jamie Heatley or somebody had mentioned my two favorite go-to presets on Black Box HD2 are Rock Anarchy and Snare-tacular. I usually start and listen to those two first. Sometimes I'll scroll through, but usually I'll just kind of check those two because it gives me two different pictures of what this thing does, and I know that those pictures work a lot. And then I just kind of play and tweak a little bit from there. And if I don't like either of them, then I'll either ditch it or I'll, scroll presets until I go like, I like that. I'm big into just like, fuck around and find out. Just keep kind of playing with things until that moment that you're like, oh, that's cool. Okay. Stop what I'm doing. Next thing. So I do a lot of that. The other reason that I start with the Black Box HG2, I only do a little bit of light saturation into it. It's not like it's distorting anything. You barely hear it. But I do add some nice air with the Rock Anarchy sometimes. But it gives me the ability to adjust my output into my next stage, which is the Manley Varimu. And the Manley Varimu, I always have the settings at the same exact setting, and I push into it until I get the desired result and sound out of it that I want. A lot of mastering engineers do this. A lot of mix engineers do this. Some boxes are tweak them until you get the right sound. Some boxes are, I know what this one thing does. This one thing is amazing, and I need this one thing to do this thing right now. Boom. And that's what my Varimu does for me. Next in my chain is typically the UAD Pultec Pro Legacy. Now, one thing to know about this is it gives you a little bit of a volume bump. So it's like a dB&1 or so of a volume bump, and it also gives you a little bit of a mid-range bump. So sometimes that's really, I like it. It sounds really good. And sometimes it's like, you'll see what I did here, which is I went to 4K. This is the dip section, and I dipped a little bit at 4K just to soften up right in the middle of the mids so that your ears aren't being assaulted by all of that mid-range, and then I'm brightening it up. Here, listen before and after with this thing.
Stream where you and I would
You can get so much out of this EQ. It's amazing. Let me just play for a little bit, and I'll show you, what this thing can really do.
Dream where you and I would go when things got difficult, even for me to say I've never seen this before. But I played along when miles ahead, 'cause it felt real. Your kiss.
Now, when I'm going through these bands and stuff and listening, I'm really listening for musicality. I'm listening for, what's being brought out in my mix right now by this EQ band that I maybe was underrepresenting before, or wow, it just sounds better when it's a little bit more enhanced in here. And I find a lot of that sauce is in the 300, 500, and 700 on this MEQ5. And it just finds really musical stuff and pulls it forward. Give it a listen.
Dream where you and I would go when things got difficult, even for me to say I've never seen this before. But I played along when miles ahead, 'cause it felt.
Now, you got to be really careful that you don't make it kind of too boxy, but there's really some beautiful music happening in the mid-range, and you don't want to forget about it. Same thing with like that 2K range, I find. See, and if you dip 4K, this is kind of what it sounds like.
Dream where you and I would go when things.
This song doesn't really have any harshness in the mids, but if it was like Super Ugly from Coburn, the mids are really aggressive, so that 4K dip just kind of lets your ears get a little softer with everything, keeps everything really big and powerful. And then after the Pultec, I typically feed into a master desk. Now, when we're talking about gain staging, I am making sure that each plug-in one into the next isn't distorting on the way in or on the way out. And sometimes, you could have a situation like this. I'm going to turn the HG2 way up and the Vari-Mu way down.
Dream where you and I would go when things got difficult, even for me to say I've never seen this before. But I played along when miles ahead.
I think my mix is so low I can't even push it into distortion. Well, anyway, I tend to push the black box until I get the desired result into the Vari-Mu that I'm looking for. So sometimes if you're pushing too loud, you bypass the Vari-Mu and all of a sudden your signal is just slamming your mix bus and you're like, oh. So it's important to stage each segment one into the next so that you're not distorting things unless you're trying to actually do that. So master desk follows all of that. I'm just using a little bit of push in the master desk, and I like the turbo limiter on this.
Dream where you and I would go when things.
But the biggest cheat code with this is foundation, which is a tilt. And I'll show you more tilt later. But this really helps you put into focus, okay, how much bass should I have right now? How much highs should I have? And this is just tilts it to either brighter and thinner or bassier and darker.
Dream where you and I would go when things got difficult, even for me to say I've never.
So I started on this by trimming a little bit of bass off and making it a little bit brighter, which makes the compression work a little bit smoother and just gave me the picture that I wanted. And then my stereo enhances up at 11 because everything goes to 11. And then the FabFilter Pro L2 is literally just a last push. I don't want to hear it. I just want it to get me to the peaks and the RMS that I'm looking for. So typically transparent, oversampling 32 times when you're printing passes and whatever your computer can handle when you're working. Dithering to 24 bits. My output I'm setting at minus 0.1. 0.1. That gives you a nice buffer for streaming so that you're not distorting on streaming. And, you know, it's just a safeguard. Nobody's going to hear a difference in 0.1. Okay. And that is the Pro L2. So here's the difference with and without the Pro L2.
Dream where you and I would go when things got difficult, even for me to say I've never seen this before.
And you can see I'm not doing very much. I'm maybe reducing 1.6 dB on just this section. I think it digs in a little bit more later. But I wanted to let you compare in real time. I put together a few other mix buses. One of them with the Hitsville EQ from Mastering EQ from UAD, which sounds amazing, and Gold Clip from Ryan Schwabe, of course. Everybody fucking loves Gold Clip. So I'm just going to A/B between my mix bus, which I don't think I changed, and Gold Clip, and let's hear it.
Dream where you and I would go when things got difficult, even for me to say I've never seen this before. But I played along when miles ahead, 'cause it felt real. Your
Do you hear all that mid-range I'm bringing out? That's got to be 800, 400.
dream where you and I would go when things got difficult, even for me to say I've never seen this before.
So that's Hitsville EQ and Gold Clip, and then I also did God Particle and VLC, which sounds great too.
Dream where you and I would go when things got difficult, even for me to say I've never seen this before. But I played along when miles ahead, 'cause it felt real. Your kiss would transcend.
So here's between mine and God Particle. I basically dialed all these in to be kind of the same or as close as possible.
Dream where you and I would go when things got difficult, even for me to say I've never seen this before.
And a lot of this stuff comes down to the subtleties of, you know, the different pieces. Like, one of the things I think about when I reach for VLC is I love the weight of the low end on this thing. Really sounds amazing. So if my mix is starting and I'm a little bit thin, then I may think like, okay, I might need VLC on the mix. So I'm not only going for the stuff that's usually my go-tos that I'm very used to. I'm going for I'm thinking about, okay, well, what now? Where can I go? Where can I get? Like, I used Hit Strip the other day on Coburn Super Ugly, and I could tell my mix without plugins was just a little bit too dark and a little bit too dull. So I just put the tilt on Hit Strip and tilted it just like I did with Foundation there, and all of a sudden the whole mix just boom, right, kind of much more in line with a finished balance. And then I could start working my mix bus towards a finish line without having to reduce the bass with an EQ and brighten up the high end with an EQ. And, you know, Tilt already just kind of does all of that for you if you're just off by a little bit in each direction. Clay Lahat asks, hey Ken, have you used LOLCOMP on the mix bus? Not as a finisher. Sometimes I'll use it first in the mix bus chain if I have a lot of headroom. The saturation on heat sounds incredible if you hit it very lightly. And like you can use punch on the mix bus. It's kind of, the punch chain is very SSL two bus E kind of feel. So yeah, but I don't finish with it. It's not designed to be a final push. Dave hates 808s. Hey Ken, so 4-to-1 ratio on the SSL 2-bus compressor. Yeah, I mean, I typically go like 4-to-1, 3-to-1, auto recovery, and a 10 to 30 millisecond attack. You know, let those initial kicks and snares through, and just lets those transients hit a little bit harder before it kind of grabs on them. Is the theory behind that. Let's see. Saturating for EQing. What? I could go to EQing. All right, I'm gonna go back to the other session. Let me answer some questions. Yoel Weiss, hey Ken, isn't 6 dB on a master a ton of compression? Interesting. No. I would say even like, you know, if you saw Koen's breakdown, you could see in every stage he was getting maybe 2 or 3 dB of reduction whenever those kicks hit, virtually on every compressor, and I think he had 3 compression stages. So overall, he was probably getting 8 or 10 dB of reduction max. And there's different styles of compression. If you think about how a radio station limiter works, everything just mashes into the radio limiter, and it has a very, very slow release time and probably a very slow attack. And that's basically the same thing that the stay level and the Varimu are doing. I'm not exactly sure why it works that way, but in my experience, you can pour a ton of level into it with a ton of reduction, and it just sounds like a glued together mix. It's what you do out the other side and how you treat it after that I think really matters. So I don't think that's a big deal. I think it would be a lot of compression, 6 to 10 dB of compression on the SSL compressor would be a lot, because you would really hear it pumping. Whereas because it's such a faster attack and release, whereas the Varimu and the stay level are such a slow release that you do not hear the pump forward and back. The 33609 would pump more forward and back before the stay level or the Varimu would. So yeah, you got to listen. Here's the other super sauce on mixed bus compressors. Side chain high pass filter. Super important. So on the SSL, this is variable off up to 185, and you see I had it basically 150. So what the side chain filter does is it says, okay, I'm listening to the entire mix, but the compression is only reacting to everything above 150 hertz. The full signal is passing back to me, the listener, through the speakers, but the compressor itself is only reacting to the frequencies above 150. So what that tells you is RMS is really driven hard below 150. Like the subs drive RMS much harder than mids and highs do. So if you get rid of the sub energy, the overall compression is much smoother. Let me see if I can just show.
Nothing is crazy. I left it all on the stage. They counted me out the game. What an awful mistake. Your pardon, I guess I changed the way they saw us. Who made it? The fans are calling my name. They waited out in the rain just to...
Okay, when I take the sidechain filter down to 0 and I feed all of that bass back into its detector circuit, watch how the meters react. I'm going to start it with the bass filtered out.
Nothing is crazy. I left it all on the stage. They counted me out the game. What an awful mistake. Nah, I'm doing numbers they came because they love it. I beg your pardon. I guess I changed the way they saw us. Who made it? The fans are calling my name. They waited out in the rain just to hear what I said. 15 minutes is all we get.
Ain't that crazy? And one of the reasons that the Varimu plugin, as well as my hardware Varimu, is super smooth is it has a sidechain filter detector that you can activate, and it filters out below 100. So, you know, those 808s and those sub-frequencies that would really push into your mix bus compression very hard, it's just ignoring those. And it's like, you know, I don't need to hear those. I just need to hear, like, more of the musical meat, and I'll react to that. So when you're thinking about picking a compressor for your mix bus, consider whether or not you want one with a sidechain filter, and how valuable that is to you. Certainly is very valuable for me in my setup. Corey Monsekowitz asks, hey Ken, wouldn't a ratio arguably be the same as a wet-dry knob? No, I don't know. Because you're like, you could have a 20-to-1 ratio and it's going to have a certain sound. And as you dial the wet-dry back, you're still going to have that sound, but that sound is going to be blended with the dry, unaffected signal, which is a totally different thing than going from like 4-to-1 to 20-to-1. So yeah, not the same thing. But parallel compression is basically, if you dial back the wet-dry, you are now parallel compressing with the dry signal. That's what parallel compression is. Dink. Ben Kruger asks, hey Ken, do you use any other mix bus compressors other than the Varimu? If so, what and why? Yes. Sometimes the Varimu is too grabby, and sometimes I just don't think it's the right sound for what I'm working on. So in those situations, I tend to start with no compressors at all, and I just get most of my volume out of the other stacks in the mix bus, and then I'll start with maybe like the master desk and see what it's doing. If I need a compressor, it just depends on style. If I want something really aggressive, then it's going to be SSL or 33609 Neve. If I want something really smooth, it's going to be maybe that MHB or the stay level or something like that. That's more just for control. Man, that chat roll is on fire tonight. 1957 Mortone, what's up? Clay Lahat, what's up? Bob Horn. Who let Bob Horn in here? I thought we had a strict no pros only policy around here, and now we're just letting all of the pro riffraff in here. So me and Bob Horn are 2 of the 5 members of Faders of the Lost Art. And Faders of the Lost Art is me, Bob, Dave Pensato, Nico Hamoy, and Fareed Salama. And we have a YouTube show called Faders of the Lost Art. You little bitch. What's up? Are you done being the star of the show? Come here. Come here, bae. Come here. Come here. Oh, I'm done. I'm so done. I want out now. Brr, brr. Did I hear Richard Furch is on the chat roll? God damn, we got all the heavies tonight. Richard, thank you for dropping in. Thank you for your segment. Actually, I'm going to let the chat roll go ham right now while we go to Richard's segment since he's on. Can everybody please thank Richard for this awesome segment we are about to run? And if you have not entered for the giveaways yet, we are about to give away all 3 UFX bundles from UJAM after the Richard Furch segment. So in the description of the video you are watching right now live, enter to win all of the giveaways tonight. So go enter right now. At the end of Richard's segment, we will give away the 3 bundles, and then we will be back to me. Here is Richard Furch.
Hey Ken and Mixing Night, welcome to Mix Man in Los Angeles. Let's talk all about the mix buzz. Let's go!
I have a master fader here in Pro Tools, and then a master aux, where the master aux is actually where I do the fade at the end. But I have the master fader because in Pro Tools, the volume automation on the master fader is before all these inserts, which is great because I can push a little bit more into the master chain if I want to, which is exactly what's happening here at the chorus, so just a little push. I mix pretty hot, but I do like to actually be at a specific level on the master fader before I push it up. So if this was at 0, it was a reasonable level, and I push it up 5-6 dB at the beginning of the mix, so it pushes into my master chain at a specific level, at a specific feel. But then at the same time, because I am already pushing a little hard into the master fader, I want my processors to hit a specific level. So I actually put in these trims everywhere. This one goes down 12 dB, and then this one goes up, well, on this point, 9.5. Basically, we have a section, these 3 inserts that are after this trim and before this trim, that are at a reasonable medium level, so to speak, and don't crush the processors that are in there. In those slots are a compressor. I love the Townhouse. I do use it very lightly, an idea of how hard it's being hit, not that much. Really not that much, mostly kick in this particular case, but it's parallel, so it's not that much either. Next would be tape head. Love this, tape simulator, but it doesn't have the low-end bumps normal tape machines have. So really great work by Metric Halo and Make Believe. Shout out Rick Carson, good stuff, and BJ as well. Next stuff, Ozone. This is Ozone 7. I use the latest one in other sessions. This just happens to be an older session, but it would be the same setup. I use a multiband compressor, but I only really use the low end. Just give it like, a dB or so of gain reduction to smoothen out the bottom. There's nothing happening up here. I do not like when, the whole record kind of like goes up and down in between in gain reduction and a bunch of makeup, and I don't like that. So very, very subtle. Like 1-2 dB of gain reduction, nothing over here. And I use a little bit of a spreader. Then I use this trim to go up, because now we have to go back up and actually find some level in this record, right? And so it pushes into this clipper. At this point it's K clip 3, but as you can see I have gold clip here as well. I kind of change between the two. They have slightly different sounds and work better on different songs. I will push with this trim into the clipper and decide how much clipping I can get. Most of the time it's like, 5.8. That might be a little much here, but maybe like 3 to 4 dB of clipping. And then right after the clipper, another set of trims, going back down 6 and going up 6, because, I want to EQ a little bit. I don't want to hit it too hard. So in between those two trims is this EQ most of the time. Sometimes the BX Digital, that works well too, or the Masterlec from Relab. But I don't want to hit that hard, so EQ and then go back up the 6. So, and then it goes into this aux return, where I have most of the time like 3 versions of limiters. Most of the time I use this one, the stealth limiter. It's another 3 dB, but not too much gain reduction. Here, one last thing to hit it, so you see how far I hit it. Really not very much, 2-3 dB, but sometimes I change it. There's the L2007, which I like, which is I think Pro Tools only, and then we have the Fab filter that, trusty and true. Sometimes they solve different problems, sound a little different, or get you louder a little bit without crapping out. And sometimes I automate the limiters, both the threshold or actually which limiters I use in which section, so that I get, a better result and solve problems here and there, and it sounds better to me. But that's it. That's the mix bus. That happens on every record, basically. And the way I push into it makes more difference than which actual processor I use it, so to speak. And it's ever evolving, as you know. But that's what we get. Back to you.
You must be doing the giveaways. I cannot wait to see who won. And I can't wait to watch this back and see the hilariousness of the green screen from those dorks down in the frickin' control room. Eric Iverson, great to see you. Johan! Oh, my friend Johan from Belgium is on tonight. Man, I miss you, bro. I hope you're doing well. Ben Kruger, Dave Hates 808s. Michael Starita, great to see you, bro. Josh S. Chris Adelman, Gordito. Who else is on tonight? Danny, good to see you, Danny. Kev J. The Ingredient. Zaza1. Michael Lance. Good to see everybody. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Man, we got a great crowd. Let's see. I'm going to go on to clippers and final limiters. Now, hang on. Where's my clippers? You know, I'm going to do a little bit EQ before I do that. So, I was showing you a little bit earlier with the previous song that when I'm EQing the mix bus, I'm really just looking for musicality. And I want to hear what I may have missed while I was mixing that, you know, like all of us have done this. You walk away from your mix for an hour and you come back and you immediately hear 5 things that you're like, oh, yeah, of course. That's kind of like the mix bus. Like the mix bus gives you like hey, if I just shape it like this, all of a sudden everything kind of gets super enhanced. That's how I look at it. I'm just looking for ways to bring out the magic.
All on the stage, they counted me out the game. What an awful mistake. Nah, I'm doing numbers they came because they love it.
I don't have time to show all of these, but I'll show you a couple things. Never in a million would I use this. It probably sounds incredible, but there are just way too many buttons and knobs and lights and everything for my brain. My brain wants to see this amount of complication. This looks musical to me. When I first got into mixing and when I was a young tracking engineer in New York City, and the first time I saw Pultecs in studios, I was like, why would anybody use that when they have that GML parametric sitting right next to it with 5 bands that can go whatever you want and wide or narrow? I didn't get it. This thing is a musical box. It's not an equalizer. It brings music out. So when I equalize the mix bus, I think on those terms. What do I want the music to sound like, and what is this doing for it? Let's find out.
Nothing is crazy. I left it all on the stage. They counted me out the game. What an awful mistake. Nah, I'm doing numbers they came because they love it. I beg your pardon. I guess I changed the way they saw us made. The fans are calling my name. They waited out in the rain just to hear what I said. 15 minutes is all we get. Nothing is crazy. I left it all on the stage. Dad in mind. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter.
Okay, I have all of these clippers set up. IK Classic Clipper, Gold Clip. Let's put these where you can see it. IK Classic Clipper, Gold Clip, Kazrock K Clip 3, Knock, SIR Standard Clip, Ozone 11 Max, and the Oven. So those to me are like clippers, and then I have final pushers, which the final pushers to me are very, very similar to clippers. I'm really, like clippers I use when I want a touch more aggression out of something, I think is the best way for me to think about it. I tend not to use a clipper unless I'm like, I just want this to hit a little bit harder, or I just want this to be a little, But if I'm like happy and everything is sounding musical and I'm liking where it is, I'm not using a clipper. I'm just putting a final pusher on, like Brainworks True Peak or IK Brick Wall Limiter or Brainworks Master Desk, Ozone Limiter, Stealth Limiter, FGX2, and then the crap of the barrel, Waves L1 and Waves L2, and then the Premier FabFilter Pro L2. So I have all of these dialed in to be the exact same finishing, like RMS. The peaks are almost identical, but everything is the exact same RMS. And I am just going to go one at a time while the music loops, and I'm going to let you listen to every single chain. And the thing about it is you're not going to hear it change, because the point that I am going to make to you audibly is it doesn't even matter. Your tools matter. Learning your tools matters. Learning what you can get out of your tools matters. But this tool, that tool, the other tool, it's not like all of these things do good things. Even the L2 and the L1, I would have to put it under a microscope with 3 or 4 dB of gain reduction to tell the difference between the L2 and the Pro L2. You only hear the difference in performance when you really start digging into these things. The L2, when you push it, sounds like shit. The Pro L2 sounds great compared to anything else pushing that much into it. So it's, when you get to the extreme processes of a plugin, that's where you really worry about it. But as far as clippers doing what they're supposed to do, which is just shave off the transient so that everything else is a bit louder and hits just a little bit harder, listen, I'm going to go through all the clippers straight into the limiters, and you're just going to have to watch I'm going to start with the classic clipper. I can't really, I'll try and put all these on. I don't know how my coordination's going to be. Probably not too good. Where is classic clipper? Boom. Okay. Well, we'll see. I'll try and bring them up as I go.
It doesn't even matter. 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 It doesn't even matter.
Got to give it up to the IK Stealth. It sounds pretty good.
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter.
one thing you should know, it doesn't even matter. When you're talking about that last 2 or 3 dB of push, whatever your tools are probably going to be okay. If you want the real pro level stuff, the pros tend to lean towards FabFilter Pro L2 or Slate FGX2, or Gold Clip is a finisher for a lot of people. But any of these kind of finishers, as long as you're not asking it to lift a mountain, are probably going to be within very, very close sonics to each other, as long as you're not pushing that plug-in too hard. Kyle Wolf is on. Kyle Wolf! Kyle Wolf is our video editor for the show, and indispensable. Our show has gotten so much better because he has joined the team. So thank you very much, Kyle. You are amazing, and you're a dope fucking producer. I got to use one of his songs on the show one night. Everybody really loved it, including me. Ryan Henry, what's up? Yes, coffee. Sean Atchinson. Man, you guys are jumping tonight. So, how are we doing on time? We need to go to Ryan Schwabe in a few. Let me do a little bit of EQing while I'm here. And I'll show you, like, it's just I'm listening for what frequencies I can bring in and out and how I can affect the musicality of what I am working on.
Put my trust in you. Put my trust in you. Push as far as I can go. For all this, there's only one thing you.
So when I start digging in with an EQ, a lot of times, especially on the Pultec, I'm going band to band to band with an exaggerated boost so that I can hear what each of those bands is doing to my music. Is it making it harsh? Is it bringing out music? Is it making it clear? Is it making it fat and warm in a nice musical way, or is it making it like boxy and tubby and, too much? So, all of these things I'm asking myself in very musical questions when I'm listening. As I'm bringing up each band, I'm like, oh, that's cool. Oh, the strings come out of here, and the piano comes out of that one, and the snare is in this band, and the vocal is in that band, and you can really hear it that way.
Put my trust in you. Push as far as I can go. For all this, there's only one thing you should know.
Listen to the piano when 500 comes out.
Put my trust in you. Push as far as I can go.
So even if, I like what that does to the voice, but maybe it makes the voice a little bit too boxy. But if I love what that does to the piano, I might then go back and put an MEQ5 on just the piano and bring it out, or bring a little bit more of that frequency out in the piano on its source track that I really love, so that I don't over affect the rest of it. One thing that I love doing on a full mix on the Pultec is just a 100 hertz low frequency boost. That 100 hertz boost, even the 60, it goes way, way, way above 100. You're probably affecting 600 or 800, as it slopes, and you can hear the entire mix just get bigger and fatter and warmer. So you may have to go back and readjust if you're, got big heavy 808s going, or if you have a big kick or something, you might have to go turn those down or shave some bass off. But listen to the warmth of the mix as 100 hertz comes up.
It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to remind myself how I try so hard. In spite of the way you were mocking me, acting acting like I was part of your property. Remembering all the times you fought with me. I'm surprised.
That's 100 hertz. That's +3 on the dial at 100 hertz. That's all that's happening, but you can hear how much musicality is coming out of the low end of the mix, into the voice, into the strings, into the piano, into the subs that are rumbling.
It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to remind myself how I try so hard, in spite of the way you were mocking me, acting like I was part of your property. Remembering all the times you fought with me. I'm surprised it got so. Things are the way they were before. You wouldn't even recognize me anymore. Not that, cause you knew me back then, but it all comes back to me in the end. You kept everything inside, and even though I tried, it all fell apart. What it meant to be would eventually be a memory of the time I tried. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind. I designed this rhyme to remind myself how I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall to lose it all.
That is the difference with one equalizer. All of that musical presence and magic coming out just with one equalizer. Let's listen one more time.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to fall.
Oof, love that. I think we are going to go to, let's go to Ryan Schwabe. And I think after Ryan Schwabe, we give away the last giveaway of the night, the 1-year subscription to Session Studio. Session Studio is what me and Coburn have been using to kind of organize the whole Coburn project. All of our lyrics, all of the audio, the voice notes, all the way to the final mixes. We all kind of put them all in one place. So we're going to give away Session Studio after Ryan Schwabe. But Ryan Schwabe is going to drop some knowledge on you about biggest mix bus mistakes.
My name is Ryan Schwabe. I'm a mixing and mastering engineer, and here are some of the biggest mistakes I see mixing engineers make when they're working with mastering engineers. The first thing is overcooked mixes, and I can hear it right away when a record is just overprocessed. Every insert and every bus is mangled and smeared with an overuse of plugins. I can hear it right away. So my first tip is don't do too much. It's not that you shouldn't do a lot of things in a mix. It's just know when you're doing too much. Sometimes less is way more. There's nothing wrong with going hard in a mix, but when one process gets undone by the next, then you've gone too far. And all you're left with really is just the artifacts of all those processes, which is that digital, hashy nastiness that we don't like about modern recordings. So to sum it up, just make sure that every mix move is intentional, improving the source and not reacting to the last process that you inserted. The next problem I often see is just issues in the low end of the mix. Mixing low end and low mids is one of the biggest struggles for young engineers, especially for people that are in compromised rooms or if they're mixing in headphones. Resonances or holes in the low end is what creates uneven distribution of energy between the first 3 octaves in a mix. If you think about the first 3 octaves, we have 20 to 40, 40 to 80, and 80 to 160. Those are the first 3 audible octaves that we as humans can hear. And getting the balance of those 3 right is key to making a really linear and powerful low end for whatever production. And getting those 3 octaves correct in the mixing process is really important to getting a loud and balanced master. When working in compromised spaces, your best bet is referencing songs that you know and love. And don't spin yourself in circles tweaking on 10 different compromised playback systems. 1 or 2 compromised playback systems is probably enough. For more tips on dialing in the low end, check out my blog post called Struggling with Low End in Your Mix. Try this. The other mistake I see mixing engineers make when working with master engineers is not communicating the entire scope of the project. I may get the first single, it doesn't have any drums, and the reference mix is pushed really hot. Then 2 weeks later, I get a full band song. And because of the arrangement of that song, that cannot be pushed as loud as that acoustic song. That pushed me into a box because I didn't know the full scope of the project before I started, so that I could recommend, hey, let's pull the volume back from the reference track. So when I get the next songs, everything dynamically fits, so I can create a dynamic arc to the entirety of the project. That's a really important part of what mastering brings to the table. Obviously, it's my responsibility to ask questions before we get started, but communicating the scope of the project right from the beginning can be really helpful. A lot of times when I'm presented work, it's always done with urgency. I need this tomorrow. I need this in 2 days. And I can't really stop, gather all this information about this project before I move forward with mastering. I may need to meet that deadline, and I may need to do it right away. So if you're on a tight deadline, communication of the scope of the project is super important from the start. The next thing is file delivery. Ideally, I'll get a main mix with all of the mix bus processing, but without the final limiter. Then I'll get a version of the main mix with the limiter on. In addition to that, I want all of the alternates that you want mastered, the clean, TV, instrumental, acapella, and it's best to get those up front from the start of the project. Now, I know a lot of engineers kind of worry about taking their limiter off of their project because the limiter might be holding that mix together, but that limiter is also what's reducing my ability to envelope shape individual sounds and create a different dynamic effect that's already set in that loud reference track. If you're not comfortable taking that limiter off, that's perfectly fine. I can deal with it, but it's really nice to have that option. Ultimately, limiters are a little dumb, and there's not that much magic built into them. 99% of the time, I can beat your loud reference track with an assortment of my own limiters, and I get the added benefit of envelope shaping and changing the dynamics before it hits the limiter. Finally, what are some simple best practices before sending your mixes off to mastering? And this may sound obvious, but actually listen to the mix that was bounced out of your DAW before you send it to mastering. And you might even want to sit with that mix for a day or two before you send it to mastering. I often get revision notes that are not about the mastering at all. It's that some track was muted or it was the wrong vocal take. And those changes and interactions are perfectly natural and a common part of the mastering process. Ultimately, it is a very iterative process sometimes, but it's really important to get your productions done and get your mixes where you want them before you go to mastering, especially if you're on tight deadlines. Mastering is the final step in record production. It's not the rescue mission. Make intentional moves with mixing. Don't overcook it. Listen to your record the next day before you send it off to mastering, and mastering will take care of itself. That's it for now. Till next time.
If we're back, I didn't...
We're back.
Hey, we're back! Somebody just won something. Congratulations. Thank you, Ryan Schwabe, for that segment. We appreciate you. Man, the level of talent tapping in to help this show out is always awesome. Damn, Richard Furch on the chat roll. Press Tunes, Ricardo Tolbert, The Secret Sound Lab. Man, you guys are jumping tonight. Who else did I just see? Astro Joey. DeFingers, your segment's coming up in a little bit. Mr. Easy JK. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of spreaders now. I'm going to show you my coolest spreader trick of all, which is I do this more on individual channels than on the stereo mix itself, but with an MS EQ. Okay, MS EQ. Do you know what MS EQ is? MS is mid-side. M, mid, mono, equals everything only in the middle. Vocal, snare, kick, bass, whatever you have panned directly in the middle, this is going to affect that. This side, the stereo section, or the S section, the side section, affects everything that is not in the middle. So if you want to add width to your mix, you can affect things that are only on the sides with MS but you also got to understand that you're widening your phase, and eventually if you go too far, you're going to be like cranking your head and barking like a dog. So you got to be really careful widening things out, but this is a great way. Let me show you what I mean.
Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah, yo man, yo man. Yeah, you're just old enough to hurt when it's rough and when things fall apart. Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah, you just tough it up. Oh, yeah.
I'm EQing only the sides, so if you have headphones on, that is super noticeable to you right now. If you're listening on speakers, it may be. Basically, everything that you're hearing is happening here and not here. So if I am going to take a subtle approach on the mix, then I might want to ask myself, do I want to add a little bit of excitement, or do I want to add a little bit of size and warmth? If I'm adding size and warmth, I might go to the wideband around maybe the 300 to 500 range and see what comes out and widen it up.
To hurt when it's rough and when things fall apart. Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah, yo man, yo man. Yeah, you're just old enough to hurt when it's rough and when things fall apart. Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah.
Can you hear that? Just getting a little bit bigger and wider. Those cellos and strings just have this nice kind of warmth and presence to them as soon as the EQ is engaged. Now let me see if I can bring up the high frequencies on the sides, which I'm going to be going after like the attack of the bow on the strings.
To hurt when it's rough and when things fall apart. Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah, yo man, yo man. Yeah, you're just old enough to hurt when it's rough and when things fall apart. Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah, you just tough it up.
Now these are big moves. I would never in a million years probably do +9 on only the sides on a full mix, unless that's like a real, on purpose thing. You tend to get a little bit too phasey. But what I'm doing is I'm finding the frequency that I like, that I'm like, oh, that would be nice to bring out and enhance more. I'm not hearing enough of that. Then I'm widening it up to a nice gentle bell and opening up that frequency a little bit. Conversely, if there's, say, the lead vocal is just not quite present enough, I can go to a mid-side and I can go to only the middle and I can bring out only the vocal frequencies. It's going to bring out other things too, but the focus will be more on the vocal.
To hurt when it's rough and when things fall apart. Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah. To hurt when it's rough and when things fall apart. Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah. Yo man, yo man. Yeah, you're just old enough to hurt when it's rough and when things fall.
So you just got to envision, like, what is your mix telling you? You can either go playing and searching and just see what brings out what, or what gets too aggressive, what you might want to tame or minimize. Or you can be really deliberate about it and you can go like, okay, I know I'm a little dark right now. Let me figure out the perfect high frequency boost for this. Is it going to be something like a fresh air, or is it going to be something like anything else? All of these, one of the most important things about spreaders is that you don't go too wide on the mix bus. But here's a bunch of the spreaders that I like and use. The DJ Swivel spread is great.
To hurt when it's rough and when things fall apart. Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah, yo man, yo man.
And then I just showed you BX Digital. I'm just going to give you a few of these. Ozone.
To hurt when it's rough and when things fall apart. Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah, young man. Young man.
Again, two-phasey, I'm being exaggerated just so you can really hear it.
To hurt when it's rough and when things fall apart. Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah, young man.
So one thing that I do on a regular mix is if my mix is a little bit boring and I have a lot of layers. Say I have 4 layers of strings, all basically doing the same thing. I might take one of those layers and I'll put them through something like one of these imagers, and I'll push just that one of 4 layers out way, way, way wide, and I'll blend it into the rest of the stack of layers. So all of a sudden the listener doesn't know why the mix sounds fucking huge like this, because everything is in really good coherent phase. Nothing is kind of making you turn your head, but all of a sudden these strings are wide as hell, but the meat and potatoes of the strings is centered and focused because you just took that one element and you're pushing one element way outside of the speakers. It's all to taste. But I do that kind of stuff a lot as opposed to widening the mix bus a lot. The air stereo width.
To hurt when it's rough and when things fall apart. Yeah, you just tough it up. Yeah, young man. Young man.
All of these things give you different sounds, especially the K stereo is, man, this thing, I don't have any idea what it's doing to the processing, but it is a completely different stereo picture than DJ Swivel Spread or Air Stereo Width or any of those things. So really, a lot of this is just use your ears and your best judgment and see what you get. When is the mix finished, Ken? How do you know? I think that's one of the toughest things as a young mix engineer to know. And I'll give you a great story. When we founded Mixing Night, Dom was over, Dom Ravinius, co-founder of Mixing Night, awesome K-pop producer. He got stuck during the pandemic with us. He was supposed to be in America for 2 weeks. He ended up staying with us for 3 months. We started Mixing Night as Q&A with Ken just so we could have something to do and give you guys some community and keep everybody together. And why the fuck was I telling you about Dom? Goddamn. Oh, yeah. So Dom was trying to get his pro mixing chops up at the time, and staying with me is, had somebody who could really show him. And he would do these mixes on my SSL, and then when he was ready, he'd be like, "Can you come listen?" And I'd be like, "Okay." So I'd come down and I'd sit down and I'd listen once or twice through. And I mean, this happened so many times that it just kind of became the running joke. And I'd be like, "All right, you ready?" He's like, "Yep." No more than 4 or 5 total moves. And that mix went from 92% to 100%. And the lesson is, if you don't know what those 4 or 5 moves are, you don't know what those 4 or 5 moves are. But if you do, then you know where the finish line is. And the finish line is the hardest thing to find. It really comes with a lot of experience. Here are some of the ways to get there. Especially as a young engineer or creative in general, it is crucially important to build the ability to listen in the macro and the micro. So we get way too caught up in listening into things and going, what is the guitar doing? What is the piano doing? What is the background vocal doing? What is the hi-hat doing? And what is very difficult to do when you've trained yourself to do that is snap back out and say, well, what is the song doing? Fuck the hi-hat. What is the song doing? What is the song telling me it needs right now? And what is the song lacking, or where do I want to take it? What is my vision for this song? And that's, if there's anything that comes out of tonight, I want you to change your mindset from the tools to the creative vision. The tools are just tools. You can use any of these tools and they're probably going to get you very, very similar results. It's the find the interfaces of those tools that make the most sense with your brain. When you pick this thing up, you're like, I know what this does. I know exactly what I want to do with it. I feel creative with it. And boom, those are the types of tools that I use. But this EQ against that EQ against that EQ, if I needed to get the exact same result out of each of them, I could. The difference is how I get that result. You know, do I like the way this feels? Do I like, on a perfect example would be the difference between the Pultec Pro Legacy and like a fully parametric EQ. Fully parametric, I can sweep every single frequency as tight or as wide as I want, but the Pultec just gives me steps. And sometimes I like the steps because I just want to hear like, okay, in each of these ranges, what's happening? And sometimes I want a parametric and I'm like, okay, I want to sweep this frequency and I need to find the center of either the juiciest part that I really want to bring out or the center of the harsh thing that I really want to notch and bring down. That's kind of how my brain thinks. I never think in terms of like, oh, do I need more 10K on the mix? You know, do I need more 100 hertz? Like, I don't think like that at all. I think, does the mix have, like, here's a great finishing tip. When you think everything is done or as you're getting really, really close, go to the top, hit play, back up 3 feet, don't move, and listen. It will be painful, excruciating. You will hear things about your mix that you could not believe you sat there for the last hour and missed. And then you hear those, you make your notes, you get back up here, you make all of your different changes, you go back to the top of the song, you start it again, and you give yourself another excruciating mix. Listen and make your notes, and then when you can listen through like this, start to finish and go, no changes. Then you know you're done. But this is like the late stage. I used to do it at my studio in Jersey. You'd walk out the studio and you'd be at the top of a staircase. So I would turn the music up and I would walk to the bottom of the staircase and sit and I would listen to the full mix. Here I do the out the door in the backyard listen. And I just turn the speakers way up and I'm just basically listening for an overall blend. Especially, can I hear the lead vocal and can I understand every single word of the lead vocal? If I can do those two things, and is the lead vocal sitting well? Is it not overpowering everything? Is it sitting on top of the music but not so much that it sounds like karaoke? You know, all these things are kind of, what do you call it, subliminal questions that run through my mind really quickly as I listen to anything. And so the listens where you cannot touch the controls are super critical because it totally changes your mindset. And that's almost the mindset of, here's the other mind fuck. The first big meeting you get with an A&R person or an artist manager or somebody, and man, you are so excited to play your music and whatnot, and you're playing it on their system and nothing sounds right. And you're like, what the fuck is this sounds like shit. And you just realize, like, you can hear everything about all of the mistakes that you made in your music that you didn't want it to sound like that. And it was just because of a perspective change to somebody else's system that you were like, oh, that's why people do the listen in the car test and that kind of stuff. Okay. I'm going to go to Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery, and then we're going to come back and do this RMS LUFs comparison. And that RMS LUFs comparison is in the description of the video you are watching right now. It is a big session, lots of stems, and what I did was I analyzed the momentary loudest RMS and loudest LUFs in a song, and I analyzed the entire integrated LUFs. And I did this for like 30 or 40 different songs, 5 or 6 in each different genre. And this is going to be a great roadmap for you to understand, oh, this is the volume target I want for this style of music, and this is kind of the EQ shape that I want for this style of music, but this is what I want for hip-hop, and this is for EDM, and this is for country. And so go download that. In the meantime, let's go to Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night, Man of Mystery.
What's good, Mixing Night family? This is Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery, back with another Mixing Night Man of Mystery moment. In this Mixing Night Man of Mystery moment, we're going to talk all about free plugins that you can use in your music productions. Before we get into that, shout out to this community, Mixing Night Audio, for getting me into trailer music because of the Michael Moss episode years ago that got me interested in trailer music. That led to an opportunity to create and compose the opening music for Little John and Pitbull. Right now, my music is opening up the world tour. They've been in Amsterdam, Paris, London, I think Norway. They're going all over the world. So incredible opportunity. I share that story. If you're interested in learning more about the story, shoot me a DM. And also, I'm hosting a panel at South by Southwest next week. I have a panel on March 11th at 10 a.m. featuring some music supervisors, some sync agents, so you can find out more about that. Shoot me a DM if you're interested. If you know anyone going, let me know. Have them pull up to my panel March 11th at 10 a.m. at the Austin Convention Center. This is going to be a great event and a great panel. Now, to some free plugins. Shout out to Alex Hilton, who is offering his A1 Prime delay for free for a limited time. You can find out information about that, the codes to use, a free delay that he's offering. He also has some other freeware, including A1 stereo control and A1 trigger gate. We have a free release from Arturia called Augmented Mallets Play. This is for free, so definitely check them out. We have another freebie from Analog Obsession called Attractor. This is a transient manipulator dynamic processor. Check that out, Analog Obsession's Attractor. Then we have a free instrument from Audio Modern called Spectra. It is for their free Soundbox instrument. It is an ambient electronic instrument, so definitely check that one out. We have the latest in the Fracture Sounds Blueprint series, the Woodwind Ensemble, another freebie for us music creators to use. Check out all of the freebies they have. These sound great. They're really high quality sounds in the Blueprint series, and then check out their paid instruments as well. Then we have some free theory stuff that you can check out to learn about chord progressions, learn about some music theory things called hooktheory.com. Check out the site. There's also some paid resources there that you can check out, so you can go here, find out how to formally build out structures for your music. Then we have Piano One from SoundMagic. This is a Yamaha C7 emulator from SoundMagic, Piano One Legacy version. You can check that out to get really high quality sound. Then we have some free plugins from Spectral. We have the Spacer, which is a multi-effect plugin. Definitely check that out. We have Pants or Pangs? Pangs? I don't know how to say it, but it's an audio plugin equipped with a powerful multiband transient shaper, clipping tool, and waveform analyzer. And then we have a cassette simulator called OCS 45. All three of these are free from the Spectral team. I will include links to these also in the comment of this video here. Then we have a free plugin from Tempest Audio. It's a free orchestral contact player instrument called Sona Chroma, where you can morph between 16 orchestral instruments to create unique and expressive tone colors. And you can see the instruments there. You can see a video here. So check out Sona Chroma from Tempest Audio, free orchestral instruments. And then we also have Voice Align. Now be careful with this one. This is one where you can upload the vocal takes, and you can have one be the reference track, and the others will be aligned to that reference track. Just want to make sure that you understand the rights. What are they doing with your files when you upload it here? It is web-based, so it's not a plugin you download. So maybe be careful if you're going to be uploading high-profile audio files. Make sure you understand what's happening with those files when you upload them to the site. But a great way to get some of those alignments for free. It's currently free because it is in early access, so definitely check that out if you are interested. And last but not least, Ken Lewis will be a speaker at the Sync Spotlight Conference in Atlanta on April 5th. You can also get a virtual ticket if you are interested. For those who will be in Atlanta who can make it, on April 4th, there is a songwriting camp. If you get a songwriting camp ticket, you can be writing songs to briefs that are provided by the music supervisors who will be at the conference. So a really great way to be involved. There will also be a networking event before and after the conference. So a really great couple of days there in Atlanta, starting with the songwriting camp on April 4th and then the actual conference on April 5th. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Shoot me a DM. This has been Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery, with another Mixing Night Man of Mystery moment. Be safe and be well, everyone. All right? All right. Peace.
All right. Do I need to do the in memoriam?
It is in memoriam right now.
So we have an in memoriam for Khalil Fong and Angie Stone. Khalil Fong was 41 years old. He's a Chinese star. I have a Golden Melody nomination with him for Album of the Year, which is, Golden Melodies are basically the Chinese Grammys. So one of my 2 official Golden Melody nominations was with him. I was a producer on 3 songs on a an album called JTW, Journey to the West, along with the Blessed Choir sang on a couple songs with me. Truly an honor to work with him. I mean, he was a huge star in Asia, and this is just a tremendous loss for music. So, Khalil, you will be missed. And Angie Stone, 63, died in a car accident in Alabama. For the life of me, I cannot remember what I worked with Angie Stone on, but I believe I mixed a song that never came out with her and Mary J. Blige called Black Butterfly. That was one of the most exceptional songs I ever touched in my life, and record companies warred over who was going to put it out and how, and it never came out. Ugh. Anyway, great, huge loss, both of them. But on with the show. Jorge Ortega asks, hey Ken, do you set up your 2-bus chain at the start of a mix or near the end of it? Jorge, I don't touch the 2-bus until I have built the foundation of my house. So I want to hear that song sounding like a song. Well balanced, doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not trying to get a finished mix before I touch the mix bus. I want it to feel like a really solid rough mix. I tend to do a lot of work on my 2 mix, so I tend to shape the sound and feel of the direction that I want to go in significantly based on how I personally treat the 2-bus. A lot of people are very, very gentle with it and only touch the 2-bus a little bit, if at all. There is no right or wrong. There is only, are you getting the results that you want to get when you're trying to finish your mixes? And if you're not, you know, one thing that I would recommend if you're just really struggling with mixing and you don't have the time to learn it or whatever is just go get Isotope Ozone and just try Mastering Assistant. It ain't perfect, and you usually have to tweak it, but it's pretty darn good. And, you know, can it be beaten with, you know, other tools and a quality ear? Yes, of course it can. But is it going to give you something that you probably are not good enough to do on your own yet? Probably. And then if you really want to teach yourself how to master, you can have the Ozone Mastering Assistant do the master, and whenever it does something and you're like, I really like the way that sounds, then one of 2 things. You can try and not look at what the Ozone is doing, but by ear figure out, okay, this is what it sounds like. Ozone must be doing this. Let me add this tool, or let me, you know, copy the channel and get a dry channel, and I'll put a blank Ozone on it, and I will try and get it to match. Or you can look at what Ozone Mastering Assistant did for you and go like, oh, damn, okay, it really brightened things up, and it took a notch out of 700, and, you know, and it's squeezing a little, okay. And that kind of, you know, you can learn different things about how to treat your own mix bus by using the Mix Bus Assistant software. So, you know, don't be shied away from it. And if you're more of a creator than a mixer, then use it. These are all tools, just like Auto-Tune is a tool. It's, you know, use it, don't use it, but if it helps you and gets you further down the road, then why not? I think I cannot even believe I got through almost everything that I probably wanted to show. Holy cow. Let me fire up a few more questions before I go, and we'll wind it up for the night. What a show. Whew. Eric Iverson, what's up, buddy? Eric Iverson asks, hey, Ken, what scenario do you find yourself reaching for a clipper? Usually I will reach for a clipper if I have a mix that's almost finished and I just want it to hit a little bit harder, then I will either finish it with a clipper, or I'll use a clipper and I will finish it gently with like a Pro L2. I'm not a huge clipper guy, but I'm not against them at all. Clay Lahat asks, hey Ken, have you used the IK Multimedia 1 processor instead of the Master Desk? No, I really like the Master Desk. It works really well for me. but it doesn't always make my mixes, and it's usually gentle in what I like. I'm not getting everything out of it. I'll tell you I'll go back to saying it again. The swivel hit strip sounds fucking great. Not this session, but my other session that I was working. I took everything off of my mix bus and did a print of it, and then, when I was showing you like the God Particle and mastered all of those compared to my normal mix bus on that, the easiest one to dial in was hit strip. It just does so much. Let me just show it to you real quick just so you can see it, because I wanted to show more of it tonight. This is DJ Swivel, so a mix engineer designed this, so it should make sense. And the cool thing is he's got each feature laid out across the thing. So if you want to add an exciter, boom, EQ, it's the typical, you add a channel and then you figure out, like, is it going to be a tilt? What's it going to be? Boom, boom. And then do you want it to be dynamic or tonal or transient? There's so many features on this thing. That's like it can get a little bit overwhelming because it's feature heavy. But I also find that instead of getting 5 different plugins that I have to bounce back and forth on the mix bus, that all of everything that I need is under one hood here. And for specifically working the mix bus, I find that pretty darn functional with my brain. So well done, Swivel. Really like what you did there. And I've been using that to master as well. So last but not least, Mixing Night Audio is just about an alpha for our next plugin, which is going to be called Cascade. It is going to be a delay on steroids. Man, when you hear this thing and use it. So my goal with Cascade was, step 1, build the easiest to use interface on planet Earth for people who don't know how to mix, don't know how to use delay, don't know how to time delay, all of that shit. It's super, super simple interface to understand and get to use and be musical, but also it has extra functions that make it one of the most badass delays on planet Earth. I am so psyched about this thing. So that's coming soon. I'll have a big update for you in April about it. Thank you all for joining me tonight for Mix Bus Night. This was, whew, man, we worked really hard putting this show together, and it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much to Koen Heldens, Ryan Schwabe, and Richard Furch, and Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery, Kyle Wolf, Jonathan Garcia, Nolan Monagold, Lori Lewis, Dominic Ravinius, JT, Aiden, all the people that help out on this show, Coburn. If anybody saw the Screamo death metal promo that we ran, that's Aaron Coburn from Coburn doing all those screams on it. The music was periphery, but yeah, when you hear the Coburn album, whoo, that girl is a problem. I was gonna play you guys Super Ugly tonight, but we're out of time, so you'll definitely hear it in future episodes. One last shout out to the chat roll: Ains Boogie, Secret Sound Lab, Kev J, Duffingas, Dave Hates 808s, Gordito, Jamie Heatley's still on. Man, I must be late there. Thank you for hanging out late with us, everybody. I really appreciate you all. Jorge Ortega, Danny, Unbreakable is on, Sonny, what's good, everybody? Josh S. All right, you all have a great night. Thank you so much for hanging out on Mixing Night. I really had a blast tonight, and I am going to go relax and have a glass of wine. You all have a great night. Good night.